please welcome to the stage one of my favorite people, perhaps one of my best friends, and drag mummy, David Bateman, who's going to introduce them.
Thank you. I'm going to read a poem, and then I'm going to introduce Steph and Pardy. The poem I'm going to read is a fairly new poem, and it's kind of prompted by Samuel Beckett's short novel entitled Malloy. And I've taken a quote from Malloy for the title of the poem, and the quote is "Riven by a valley." You can hear me okay? Yeah. And when I write poems, sometimes I have no idea it's going to happen, but my mother finds her way into the poem unexpectedly, and that's what happened. And she's welcome, Mother, God love you, wherever you are, but you're welcome to interfere with my poetry, whatever the fuck you feel like. I love you. Riven by a valley. We are reading the same book. We are reading it at the same time. We are reading the same copy, but we are not in the same room. My mother is in my room. I told her to get out. She cried and said she is not here. My heart is breaking in two. I am glad. I need two hearts. Her heart is breaking too, but only into one part. It is the part she uses to break mine. My selfishness is mine. I will not share it with anyone, not even with myself or her. When I am alone, she is with me. When she is with me, she is alone. This breaks both of our hearts, but only mine is broken in two. We sat for days listening to Cry Me a River. I cried. She was the river. There will always be time for love, but there is never enough love for time. Cliches are like chilies, except for the C and the L. I saw her on the train. I was cold, almost shivering. High above the city, not so high that I could not see her, yet high enough to be above the shore, far from her and the L and the C. I am unknown to everyone but myself, yet unknown to me. But not to her. She knows me. I came from her, torn from her valley. It was a valley neither filled with roses, petals, nor thorns, only stems. She cries whenever I read to her. She is not listening, nor am I. I am hard on her. She is hard on me. We are hard on each other. Soft souls listening to ourselves. When I'm standing in the forest, I'm standing alone, among many, musky, full of shit. When I leave for Forest Valley, am I leaving for a forest or a valley? I cannot bring myself to do both. I am running into banks of sand, sand-bound. My tears fill my eyes like grain filled with silos. Inside out, I weep for the crumbling interiority of my clumsy thoughts. The valley floors me. I cannot leave it. It forests me, riven from its petaled ground. I look for roses, but find just thorns. I'm only 375 words in. Already I am speechless, full of vowels, but no constants. Clever would be a palindrome if we had given Eve her own garden. She longed for a valley. Thank you. Now, before I introduce Stedman Pardy, I wasn't going to do this, but Stedman often brings me Tennessee Williams. We have that in common. We both love Tennessee Williams. And you don't always meet people who love Tennessee Williams. There's much to love, there's much to question, but one of my favorite moments in Tennessee Williams, at the end of the Night of the Iguana, the older poet reads his last poem, and then he dies. I'll try not to do that for you tonight, but I can't make any promises. But this is a beautiful poem with one of the most beautiful lines of poetry ever, but I won't tell you which one it is. Maybe you can guess. So the character of Nono at the end of Night of Iguana reads his poem. He recites this to his granddaughter, and she writes it down. How calmly does the orange branch observe the sky begin to blanch, without a cry, without a prayer, with no betrayal of despair. Sometime, while night obscures the tree, the zenith of its life will be gone past forever, and from thence a second history will commence. A chronicle no longer gold, a bargaining with mist and mold, and finally the broken stem, the plummeting to earth, and then an intercourse not well designed for beings of a golden kind, whose native green must arch above the earth's obscene, corrupting love. And still the root, ripe fruit, and the branch observe the sky begin to blanch, without a cry, without a prayer, with no betrayal of despair. O courage, could you not, as well, select a second place to dwell, not only in that golden tree, but in the frightened heart of me? Thank you.